Welcome, everyone. My name is Megan Mermaid, and this is my show, Conversations with Friends, where I interview real people who are also my friends that are doing extraordinary things. So I'm so excited for you to meet my friend, Erika Ruiz, today, who is not only an author, but also a creator and also a healer and also so many other things. But I'll let her share more about all the great things that she's doing. So how are you doing today, Erika?
I'm doing pretty good, the weather is a little different and I'm doing okay.
Good, good. Yeah, crazy weather recently. Seriously.
Yeah,
We never know what it's going to be. Is
I
it still
know.
raining there? It was raining when I left to go from California to Phoenix today.
Yeah, it was kind of sprinkling today, but not as much right now. I think the weather's changing now, so it's like a little humid, and it just kind of makes me think like how when the weather changes, your mood changes as well.
That's
You
so
know?
true.
Yeah, so I feel like right now I'm kind of like feeling like, okay, now I'm settling back in. Summer's kind of, it feels like it's a little bit over, like the sun's not here. It's a little gloomy. So I kind of feel like even the emotions are kind of shifting right now.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up because I
Hmm.
know that you've been on such a journey, like on heart healing and working through your
Hmm.
emotions. So, what do you do when, it's kind of hard to get out of that funk because the weather is not how you want it to be?
Yeah. Well, I think that for me, I feel like I started in a huge transitional journey probably about 5 years ago, maybe 5, 6 years ago, to where I kind of just jumped in the water and just explored my life. And I feel like I took a huge risk in myself. I was kind of like in the moment of like, okay, I'm just going to live life now. But at the same time, it was kind of like I didn't understand at that moment that there's always consequences to what you choose in life. There's always some type of a consequence, whatever road that you choose to go through. It's always going to have a consequence, whether it's a positive one, whether it's an uncomfortable one. I don't like to use the word negative one because it just sounds so like right and wrong, and life isn't always like that. But I would say that I feel like I've tested things. I think I've tested what I feel works for me, so I've tried a lot of different things, and I've concluded that the things that have really helped me more with my emotions right now has been a lot of meditating. And it's about being consistent with meditation, like an everyday thing, even if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and just really resting your mind from all of these conversations that we tend to have in our brains. So that has been one of the biggest ones. Another one has been honestly, getting massages has been known to be like a luxury thing, but in reality, it's been very healing for me. The therapy and the touch that goes on during massages and the awakening of stored emotions, that we tend to hold in our body. A lot of people don't talk about that. But when you see like a really good therapist that knows what they're doing to help you heal, massage therapy has been so helpful for me.
Wow. And you do that too. Isn't that one of the services that you offer?
And that's exactly why I do it. I feel like during from during like the start of like 2015 up until now, I feel like I've gone through a lot of changes in my life. Um, and I feel like a lot of challenges were thrown at me unexpected. We never know what's going to happen tomorrow, the next day, or the next year. And I figured that you can't always prepare yourself for everything all the time. You can't always be so fully prepared because life can just come at you. And I've learned to appreciate the beautiful moments and the good things and the good moments when they're here versus just focusing on what goes wrong in life. So with that, I feel that what has helped me during my healing journey, I've incorporated it's into like how I can help others, you know? So because massage therapy was such a huge one for me, when I went through my mental breakdown, it literally helped my body heal and it helped my mind release a lot of tension as well. So that's why I got into the massage therapy thing to help others heal. And I've noticed that while I've been helping others heal in that room, it also helps me heal because things come up for them that it reminds me too, like, okay, this is what I get to see and this is what I get to appreciate. And no matter what we go through in life, I've learned that things are always going to be okay, you know? Sometimes it seems like it's not going to be okay. And sometimes I felt really stuck. But in reality, it's like really, really trusting the process and knowing that, okay, this is something I get to feel right now. And it's just an emotion I'm going through. But I'm gonna get through this and just really trusting that. Although it's so hard, Megan, like I can say it, I'm not even gonna sugarcoat this. It's so hard. It's not easy, you know, it's not an easy thing to do to say, okay, I feel like um, how do I say this? If I feel like crap, you
Yeah.
know, I get to feel like that today. And it's like it's part of how I feel, and it's okay because tomorrow's gonna be better, you know, and just programming my mind that tomorrow is going to be better and tomorrow's going to be another good day and tomorrow's going to be a better day. It's how I've learned to just move forward in life with all these things that were thrown at me.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. I love how you brought up meditation and body works
Mm-hmm.
and also just focusing on no matter what, it will be okay. I feel like those things are lifelines. Like if you just had those three things, that you would be so good compared to most people that just get really trapped in the day to day, right? So
Yeah.
I love that you have this prayer to want to support other people with these things that have worked for you. And I remember when I first met you, I don't recall who it was, but someone had said, "You've
I
got to meet
can't
Erika.
either.
She's just an absolute angel." And I remember seeing you and like it felt like this reunion, like we were like seeing each other again after all this time. Like I
It,
just remember hugging you and I felt your energy and I was like, "Oh my God, like we're already friends."
I know that was so funny. It was like it just happened, and I felt like I already knew who you were.
I know. Yeah, and we've been through a lot since then, huh? I feel like both of us
Yeah.
were really just kind of starting on this like journey of awakening and working through all of our trauma and our shadow
Yes.
and yeah, and that's what inspired me to reach out because, I was watching your TikToks and you had that one where you were talking about your homegirl journal and you were just like, you just
Mhm.
need to write it out and you need to like say it over and over again until you're tired of hearing yourself. Is that what you said something along those lines, right?
Yeah, and that's exactly like what I caught myself doing. So like I noticed like, okay, you know, therapy works and support systems work, you know, like support circles always work, right? I always tell people find a support network, you know, so that you figure out eventually that you're not alone. You're not the only one going through something like this, you know, and you can share thoughts with other people that know exactly where you're coming from. I noticed that when I would talk about my issues, right? And I would talk about things that made me sad or like a challenge I went through in life. And I eventually talked about it so much that I got so tired of hearing me talk about it that I'm like, when people would come and ask me like, hey, how are you feeling now? I'm like, don't ask me. Don't ask me. I don't even want to ask myself how I'm doing now because it's kind of like I got so tired of hearing it. And I almost feel like people were even expecting me to even say it again, that I was just like, I'm done. Like, I'm tired of listening to myself. I think I'm over this. And I think I need to move on from this, you know? And until I caught myself doing that, along with writing about it, I love writing. I feel like when you write, you let go. I feel like when you write things, it becomes more realistic. And
Yeah.
then instead of storing it in your brain, it's like you get to put it on something and either you shut it and don't read it again. I don't like to read the things that I've written before because it's more of a throwing it in there and just letting it go. So I came up with the Homegirl Journal, and I believe I published it in December, sometime last year. I have 14, 15 books now on Amazon that I've published. And
You're like, in my
so,
spare time, 14 books, no big deal.
yeah, I mean, it's been a journey of writing too, but again, I feel like I write to release and then just let it go. And as I look back on my books, I'm like, wow, I remember when I wrote that one and what I was going through. And I remember what I was feeling when I wrote this one. And it's just all been thrown in a book where I publish and now make royalties off of it.
Yeah, yeah, that's transmutation right there. So let me ask
Mhm.
you this, Erica. What was it like for you growing up? Because to me, it sounds like you're speaking to a group of people that women specifically, maybe children, maybe everybody, but to me, it feels like your message is really meant to reach a lot of women. And do you feel like that's because you didn't have those types of resources when you were growing up?
Yeah, I like to talk about things that I can relate to, things that I've gone through, and it makes me feel more confident because I feel like I've been there and I know what I'm talking about. And so that's why I like to talk about the things that I talk about and I write about the things that I write about. And a lot of those can be very controversial too. Like it can piss people off, because a lot of people don't like to either talk about things that are uncomfortable and that are very hurtful. And I do that. I do it for myself to move forward from it, but I notice it can kind of shake people up, because I almost feel like a lot of people can bottle things up. And I mean, including myself, I can bottle things up too, but I just feel like what's really helped me move forward from it is I like to use tools that I've learned. For example, the writing and just, putting it in there and letting it go, talking about it till I'm tired of talking about it. And that's just what really works for me. Um, so what was the question again?
Oh yeah, like, well, I feel like you answered part of it that,
Mhm,
you want to talk about the things that you've gone through, even if it's uncomfortable.
mhm.
Do you want to, what was it like for you growing up?
Oh yeah, the message. So a
Yeah.
lot of things that I write about are based on my own personal experiences. So growing up, it was six of us in our family. I had six siblings, well, six including myself. I didn't have a father figure. Um, he took off when I was, I believe, like 8 or 9 years old. So my mom only spoke Spanish, She understands English now a lot more. We're from Mexico, so we're Mexicans, I'm a Mexican American, but my mom is and my dad, they come from Mexico. And so I feel like a lot of the Mexican culture, they don't even know what forgiveness is. They don't even know what saying sorry is. And that has made it very hard for, at least I want to speak for myself, for my family to kind of cope through challenges and things that families go through. I feel like no family is perfect. It's all a living learning experience. And sometimes we get to do things that are uncomfortable. For example, saying sorry and acknowledging the fact that you effed up.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it could be very, very hard. I've noticed that in the Mexican culture because nowhere um I hate to say educate. I don't want to say educated, but in reality, it's like nobody taught them how to do that. For example, me growing up here, it's kind of like I've learned to take trainings to help me grow and learn from, where I've learned, okay, it's okay to say sorry. And it actually is better to even say sorry when you know you messed up, because people mess up all the time. So that's kind of like the way I grew up. My mom was so involved in like trying to take care of my older brothers and sisters. So me being kind of in the middle with the last two younger brothers under me, I was kind of just living my own life, figuring out how to survive in this world. And because I felt neglected at home, because I felt unloved, it affected me growing up as a teenager, where I carried a lot of hurt and resentment. So I feel like I took that out on people out in the street, kids at school, that didn't deserve it. But in the end, I figured, and I would drink a lot, I started drinking at a very, very young age. I think I was actually 13 years old when I took my first shot of like Bacardi.
Mhm.
And then that went on to like Jack Daniels, so just heavy stuff. And then I realized one day that I was just a hurt girl, I didn't feel acknowledged at home. I didn't feel loved. And I remember always feeling like, I hope one day a good looking family, that was just my vision, right? A good looking family could adopt me and take care of me. And I just want to be loved, And I wrote a short story about that. I have not published it yet. But basically, like, the moral of that story is, pay attention to your kids, Kids absorb so much. And I get it that we're all busy working, trying to create a life as parents. But it's like, if you have children, really, really pay attention to them. Once in a while, spend time with them. You don't have to do anything big or special, but they pick up on that love and feeling, And that has taught me to pay attention to my kids. And I'm so like, I give myself so much, like, not just credit, but like, I appreciate myself for giving that love that I didn't have growing up to my own kids,
Mm.
Because they do come to me. Now I have a 15-year-old and I have a 23-year-old. So the 23-year-old is married. He's living his own life. He just came back from being an active Marine for 4 years. But when things get real, he calls me,
Yeah.
He asks me questions, he asks for support or advice. And I'm so glad that he can come to me, where he knows that I'm always going to be there for him, regardless what decision he makes, and I could only be a support for him. And that I'm always going to do what I feel is right for him. And my 15-year-old now, he's a teenager. So I notice he'll lay on the bed with me. And that's when I know, okay, I'm going to check out of my phone and just put it down for a bit and just lay there with him. Because when I do that, he just talks and talks and talks and talks. And I'm like, okay, I listen to him. But it's like, how cool is that, that he's always going to carry that with him? Like, he's always going to remember my mom was there. Like, even when she was sick, she was there. Like, even when she couldn't get out of bed, she was there, you know?
That's so powerful.
And I think that is touching for me, just because um it's true, sometimes in life you'll hit rock bottom, but the important thing is having your family around, and that's the moment you realize, like, that's when the whole world kind of shuts down, you realize reality and how important your kids are and how valuable they are and how your health is so important. Taking care of your emotions, taking care of yourself is such a big deal, because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't really take care of anybody, including yourself, So I think that everything that I've gone through in life, even starting that nervous breakdown, which has been the most recent challenge for me, has taught me huge that the biggest thing to value is yourself, and to put yourself first, so that you can be available for your children, because your children need you. So that was a lot.
I love it. And I love how like emotional you're getting, because it just feels
Mhm.
like it's coming right from the heart. Would you be open to sharing more about the nervous breakdown that you went through? What do you think led to it, and how did you move through it?
So I feel like my first really big near death experience started when I was 17 years old. And I had overdosed on a street drug. And I recovered for about probably like a whole year before I started realizing, okay, my mind is coming back to presence. And, my brain is healing from something traumatic I went through. And during that time, I had got involved. Well, I met somebody, and he was a lot older than me. And I guess I had felt like some type of a protection because I didn't have my father around. I almost felt like, okay, this is somebody that cares about me and that loves me. And so, anyways, long story short from that, I feel like when I got into that relationship, I didn't fully recover my overdose experience. I kind of just jumped into another thing, and I didn't really heal completely from that. So I feel like that right there alone was something, like, it was a big deal. I did never knew, like, okay, things you don't really take care of at the moment, there's going to be a time in life where you're going to go through it, you know and things that you ran from, for example, when you drink your pain away, and you're just getting drunk, you're just numbing your emotions for the moment, because you're going to get to that time where you're, even if it takes like 5-10 years later, like, you will hit a moment where you have to deal with that,
Yeah.
and I feel like that was never really taken care of. So then after that, I had children, I got pregnant, so it was like another thing. And then after that, I'm trying to be better so I can get back to work and finish school, and it was just like a huge, like, ongoing nonstop life. So during that relationship, obviously, I had met him when I was only 17 years old. I was so young. Your brain is not developed the way it is now as a 43-year-old at all. So I feel like things happen in life. You learn to be responsible because you kind of have to. At least that's how I felt at the time. It's like, okay, I'm already in this relationship. I already have children. I just have to tough it up. And so during that relationship, there was a lot of abuse, a lot of neglect, physical, mostly emotional, and verbally. So I feel like that really killed my spirit. But I felt that because I've gone through so much even before, I felt like, okay, I can handle this. I'm going to be fine. I can handle this. I can take the punches, and okay. And I have to be tough. And I took it and I took it and I took it. And I feel like after 16 years of being so neglected, and treated so, like, being so mistreated, eventually caught up to me. And so I feel like the moment that I decided to leave this person, I thought things were going to be okay and better because I was honest about it, but it didn't work out that way. And that's why I like to talk about these things, because I do hear a lot of stories, like even on TikTok, people are like, oh, I left my abusive relationship and I'm living so happy now and I'm so glad. And I'm like, I don't know, but I don't think it always works like that, girlfriend,
I think
you
there's a
know?
few steps that are missing in that story.
Yeah, yeah. And even if I can kind of say that now, it's not completely truthful because I still go through flashbacks. I still go through moments. It's not like it never happened. It's kind of like when they say, when you cut yourself, and you put a band-aid over it, the cut's still there, even though it looks healed. But is it completely healed, like it's never been there? It's not. And I think that that's the way the heart works, you know and obviously I didn't know that until I went through that huge experience, to where after a while I feel like things got really, really bad for me in that relationship. It got worse. And the abuse got harder, like even stronger. And I think that when you go through something like that, your mind changes. You're so trauma bonded, number one. Number two, you've been so verbally abused that you don't even know what's real or not anymore. And I think that that really messes with your whole, like, your whole body, your mind, your body, your soul. You're so broken after that. So I think that after wanting to be in control of everything, fix everything on my own, because I always did, my body and my mind couldn't do it no more. The real me inside couldn't take it anymore. So it eventually shut down, where I couldn't move. I felt like I couldn't breathe. My heart started um working different. My mind was dizzy. I could not handle it. And I went through this, Megan. For 3 years, I was bedbound. The first 2 years, I couldn't shower. I couldn't get out of bed. Um, I was so traumatized. I was so depressed. It affected me physically, where I didn't have a life anymore, and I felt like I was gonna die until I heard of the heartbroken syndrome. And I did a little bit of research on it too. I figured, oh my God, could this be what I'm going through? And I just kind of put everything together, and I'm thinking, okay, doctors don't find anything really physically wrong with me. And I was on a heart monitor for about a month, and then even that came out normal. Um, the rhythm of my beat of my heart was a little irregular, you know, but it was like nothing wrong with me. I had head scans, I had all kinds of things, and they didn't find anything like hugely wrong with me, but I was paralyzed. I was like physically, mentally, emotionally paralyzed. I couldn't talk. My my mouth, like the way that I would speak, would slur. It was a very tough moment in my life because I felt like I was never gonna get out of that. My face was turning to the sideways, like I was tilting to the side. It was really, really bad. And again, I started meditating when I could. I started kind of brainwashing my own brain that I'm gonna get out of this, that I don't want to stay like this, that either I die like this or I need to get up. So I feel like with that, I started pushing myself very little by little because my body was exhausted. My mind was exhausted. Every time I would get up, I was dizzy. I still suffer that from that, but not as bad as before. Like I can last longer standing up, sitting down. I can get in my car and drive now a few blocks away, but I couldn't even do that. I couldn't even go downstairs to even sit in my car. My car was sitting there for like 3 years. And it was just really, really a really tough time for me. And again, I can say I'm not completely healed from it, although I've done so much to heal from it. I don't know if I'm ever going to be like 100% like it never happened. But with that, I feel like I've always still tried to reach my goals as much as I could. There was a time where I didn't pressure myself at all, which was those 3 years, of course. I'm on my fourth year, and I feel like since December, I've made a huge progress, in getting better. But last year, actually 2 years ago, because of the stress and tension was so tight, it shifted like discs on my neck because I was so like this. And my shoulders here felt super like rock tight. I couldn't get them to relax. And so when I had a therapist come over, and she came over my house, so that was actually a huge blessing for me because I couldn't leave the home. On top of that, I feel like I got some type of like social anxiety. I couldn't be around people at all. And so her coming to my house and just helping me heal and just like helping me restore my body, I swear I had to save up money for her at least once a week, almost a whole year, like 8 months, until I finally got feeling in my body. And I'm like, whoa, I feel your hands on my body. That's when I started releasing. Like I started feeling like a lot like, how do I say this? I don't want to say weak, but like I felt feeling in my body. I wasn't even able to feel that because I was so tight. And then the emotions started coming out. I started crying during therapy. So I was releasing a lot of stored trauma and things that I can't even explain it up until this day, like a lot of things that I don't even know what happened to me. But I feel like eventually, I think that if you put the work in and you want to heal, just by saying I want to heal, I feel like the universe kind of guides you through it, it opens doors for you because you want it so bad. And I feel like that's what's really been helping me just kind of cope through that, because again, I don't feel like I'm 100% better, but I do what I can now, and I don't pressure myself, and I do a lot of like affirmations. I remind myself of my worth and how special I really am, and how much I really love myself, to where like if no one else loves me, I know that I love myself, because I get to give that to myself. And all that love and attention I once thought I had to give to somebody else, and I was craving that attention from someone, I didn't know that I just had to give it to myself.
That's so incredible. I'm just so amazed at everything that you've gone through and how you were able to just come out of it in such a beautiful way. And not only that, but like just continue to like just bring love into the world and help other
Mhm.
people. Like it's just so beautiful. I'm so happy to see you on the other side of this.
Thank you, Megan, so much. Because I feel like you saw a lot of the beginnings of my transformation, It was like such a big deal for me. And then eventually I thought things were going to get better, but they didn't. They got
Um,
worse and harder. And it made me question myself, of my faith and what I believe in or not anymore. And I guess sometimes, sometimes you just need to accept things, and the sooner you accept them and try to move forward from them, like away from that energy, you know is better. Although it's not easy, again, I want to say that so often, because when I used to hear other people say things like that, I used to say to myself, man, it's so easier said than done, and unless you're really going through it, then you understand it. But that's why I want to keep saying that it's not easy, and it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, I think it's so important to voice that because it makes it more real. Like
Mhm.
oftentimes we see people on the other side, or maybe people portraying that everything is okay.
Yeah.
In reality, like you said, it's like you think things are getting better, and then sometimes they do have to get worse. You're going into deeper levels and you're peeling more back. And think about it. You had shared that you from the time you grew up, nobody told you how to feel your feelings. You numbed out, and then you went from one experience to another and to another. And then a similar thing happened in my life where it was just that moment where it's like everything kind of shit hits the fan and you have to deal with it. Like you can't numb out anymore. And
Mhm.
it's so important, like you said, to have community and people that you can speak to and know that there's nothing wrong with you, that actually this is the
Mhm.
moment where you're getting right with you. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's definitely not an easy path. And I feel like that's why a lot of people just continue to choose to numb out, or to
Mhm.
act like it's okay and
Mhm.
live like with the discomfort.
Yeah, and I also get that too, because I feel like I did it for a while myself until I kind of snapped out of it. And another thing that I want to mention, Megan, sorry,
Don't be
that also
sorry.
talk to people that care about you and that are going to listen to you without judgment, because I just made a recent video where it just kind of came to me, and I was thinking that at the time I was reaching out for help and support when I actually had the nerve to even ask for help. Um, not all those people were the right people, a lot of them even instigated the situation. They made it worse, you know, and that was not good. So I like to say, like, contact a professional, talk to a healer like yourself, someone that can guide you, not someone that's going to just give you random advice without even knowing what you're really going through, or that's never even been in a situation like that, because they can give you not the right advice.
Yeah. Yeah. Or sometimes it could even be that like maybe they do have good intentions, but it makes you feel worse because you feel like you're not
Mhm.
or you're not being heard. And so I love
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like it's important to note too that like we all experience like shame and guilt. I mean, I'll even think about like there are moments like remember when I first met you and you had some party and I remember being there with some guy that I was dating and like, I just like I think back on moments like that where I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's so cringe, like to think of where we were in certain moments of our path. Like I can't believe I did
Mhm.
that, or I can't believe I was acting that way, or I can't believe that like I didn't
Mhm.
know better, but I feel like it's so important that we acknowledge that. And like, I even see myself
Yeah.
now as like, when I think about those moments, like me now, like walking back into those moments and like guiding that part of me that was misguided or that was like, doing that.
Yeah.
Like, cause it's, we can all carry so much shame and guilt about the way that we showed up when we were lost.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. And that's why the whole judging thing, like talking to people that care about you without judgment is so important because one person that is not like a person that really comprehends can really take you back to feeling that way again, you know? Especially people that have a hard time moving forward and that are kind of stuck in the past is not somebody you want to get advice from,
Yeah. Yeah.
because
Oh, go
mhm. Yeah,
ahead.
no, because I kind of feel like I've also grown so much during all of my experiences. But I did have this one person that kept taking me back there and kept taking me to the past and kept bringing it up and kept wanting to stay there. And I'm like, dude, how do you even remember all these things? Like, how could you not move forward? That's not even me anymore, like I'm not even the same person anymore. But it was so hard for that person to move on. That was his way of coping through things, that it just wasn't letting me move on. It just was not letting me, it just kind of kept me there. And it reminded me of what I had done. Not that I regret everything that I did even during that time. It was mostly like him shaming me, because he didn't like or approve or agree with what I was doing at the moment. But it's like keep shaming somebody, like continuously over and over and over gets really old, and you waste your time and you waste your life away, and it keeps you from making better memories. It's like you get to pick and choose, either you move forward or you stay stuck, because there's like people that are like 80, 60 years old that can still bring up things that they haven't moved forward from. And that's so sad.
No.
I feel like that's so sad because every day is a new opportunity to just recreate yourself. And I know a lot of people can't understand that if they've never been taught that, or they've never taken any type of like self growth training and things like that. But it's so important to invest in yourself.
I agree. Yeah. So, what would you tell people that are going through a difficult time or feel like the people in their lives keep bringing them back to things when they know that they're actively moving forward? How would you or what would you say to people that are going through something similar right now?
I think I would say get involved with people that care about you and that love you. And if you need to be alone for a year or two, take advantage of that, because I feel like being alone is also very recovering. And also continue to move. I think if you continue to move and breathe and remind yourself that you get to just release it with your breath on anything that you're going through. And even when you don't feel like getting up, get up, move around, get yourself moving and breathing. uh was a huge reminder for me. And there's like this, what is it, like this 5-second rule that I started using after I seen something on YouTube that said whenever you feel stuck or you don't want to do something, do that 5-second rule. Just count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Get up, just jump, get up, get out of bed, and just do what you have to do and start your day. And you'll notice that by the end of the day, versus staying in bed and doing nothing, you're going to feel so proud of yourself for getting up that moment and just living your life that day. And it's an everyday step. It's an everyday challenge, you know? But eventually you're going to get to that moment where you're going to be like, wow, I'm not there anymore, you
Wow.
know?
That's such beautiful wisdom. So my last question for you today, Erika, is, you've talked a lot about how to heal yourself and how to move through things and the tools that you can take to do that. But what about forgiveness? Like, how do you forgive and let go of the people that did abuse you, that did hurt you? What would you say to people that are struggling with forgiving?
I feel like forgiveness is so huge, right? Because again, people can take it like, oh, I'm not going to forgive that person because that person doesn't deserve it. But it's not about the other person, it's about yourself. It releases yourself from this prison bondage that you carry inside your brain, you know? And even when you cannot forgive somebody right away, it's not going to be overnight. It's a constant thing. Again, it's a practice, you know? And you wanting to forgive is a huge step, because when you really want to from your heart, the universe is going to hear you out, you know? God's going to hear you out and say, okay, this person really wants to forgive, you know? And that's when I feel like the doors start opening up for you. Again, based on my experience, it didn't happen overnight. It took me a few years to really let go. Um, and again, just praying on it, you know, I forgive you. And even when I didn't want to say it, say those words in my mind to that person, I kept saying it. And then I wrote about it. You know, I wrote a letter to that person saying, I forgive you. I'm sorry. And I'm sorry that I hurt you if I did. And just constantly practicing forgiveness, you're gonna notice that one day you're just not even gonna feel that anger and resentment towards that person anymore. And I know that for a fact because it's happened twice for me. And just practicing in that forgiveness stage, I feel like eventually you're gonna feel different, you know, and you might not even want to talk about it no more. You might not even want to remember it because you don't want to go back to that, you know? And I feel like that's really worked for me. And with that being said, I did publish a notebook called Heal Yourself, Forgive Yourself. And again, I wrote things that helped me through. So it's a book that challenges you with questions, exercises on what to do on forgiveness. Um, and a lot of couples bought those books because I do have the women's version and the men's version. I did get a lot of feedback during that. I did have a few Zoom classes on that. So um, I noticed some people couldn't even move past a certain exercise because they just couldn't do it, you know? And it's hard because it's not easy, because you don't want to forgive someone all the time until it starts using you, you know, until you start feeling bitter and angry and taking it out on other people. I feel like that's when either you choose to want to forgive or not, you know, either you stay in that space forever or you like really try and move yourself away from that.
Mm, yeah. It's so powerful. Well, thank you so much for all of the amazing wisdom and loving guidance that you shared today, Erika. If someone wants to learn more about you or find your books or work with you, how could they do that?
Yeah, they can find my website at strongfamilybond.com. And then if they want to purchase of my books on Amazon, they can do that there as well. So on the search button, you can look for Erika with a K, Ruiz, Ruiz, and you can find all of my books there. My Instagram too. You can find me under beautiful_magical angel.
And there's no better words to describe you.
Thank you. Yeah, and I kept that name because I feel like, okay, it was given to me, and it was created at the perfect moment, and it helped me realize who I really am.
Yeah. Yeah. I just really want to honor you and acknowledge you, in all the years that I've known you and like everything that you've gone through. I just see you, showing up as this beautiful goddess, angelic
Thank
energy. And
you.
I'm just so happy for you and so honored that I get to be your friend.
Thank you, Megan, so much. That means a lot to me.
Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Megan.
Love you.
Love you too. Bye.
Bye.